Something interesting I found in the racism voices was specifically in the letter to my son in the social justice textbook. I noticed that in observation, so this mom is reflecting on the world that her son is growing up in, and she's writing a letter to kind of explain her perspective on the realities. And after speaking with other people in classes on the same topic, there are other perspectives from those who are affected by racism. And one lady who I spoke with said that she understands that just because somebody has white privilege doesn't necessarily mean that they are a racist, that those are two separate things. So I was looking at how generationally, looking again, kind of referencing towards like immigration and refugeeism, is that there are people who do assimilate to cultural contexts and then have intersectionality breakthroughs, I would say. However, in this letter, I felt like we see this perspective of how racism can affect someone's perspective on the world as well as their value in it. And so this mother is telling her son, this is what you're going to be seen as, this is how people are going to treat you, this is what the world is like. And in there is room for the son to make progress in the next generation of applying some of that, but still having a positive outlook on life. And so sometimes I think that racism can be perpetuated because of the hostility or the resentment that carries over, not just from people who are being, who are victims, I guess, rather, in the racism dynamic, but also that this then creates a bias from the perspective of the person who is being offended. And so then there's a bias created about how they see other people who are typically in the past the ones to commit stereotyping and prejudice and racism. So it kind of like forces this relationship and this dynamic to continue to play out until someone in that dynamic and then both people in that dynamic are able to shut it down. So when I thought about that, it was just kind of really clear to see that. And so I often in my own life try to be someone who participates in ending those cycles. And so when I ended that reading, I thought, who can I continue to build those relationships with, and who is showing up in those ways to create a different dynamic with me. And it's a lot of my friends. And so I have these conversations with people of all races that are my friends, and on different topics as like sexism and ableism and ageism, as well as genderism and homosexuality, religion. I have friends that I'm able to have these conversations with, and they are sensitive topics. So I think it's really good to continue to have resources behind us to give a little bit of perspective, and so it's not always just a personal thing. We can have context to what we're talking about. And then the other question is, if you had the ability to recommend this reading to anyone in the world, who would it be? And I think that I would want to, honestly, I am a single, well, I'm not single anymore, but this is something that I would want to talk to about with my partner. And so since it's something that I can easily present for us to be able to cover, what are our beliefs and who are you and what do you stand for and how do you handle these challenges in society, to make sure that someone is willing to be non-racist and non-sexist and non-ableistic and, to not participate in these isms. I think that it's really important to have these conversations and be able to take resources and tools like this to be able to integrate that into conversation in a healthy and diplomatic and safe way.